And welcome back to Fujitsu World Tour London 2018, where we continue to bring you the inside track from events here by Vertical. So to recap, if you're a technologist in manufacturing, all you need to do is seek out our Facebook Live on manufacturing, and hopefully we'll be furnishing you with insight that you should be taking back to your business and discussing at board level. It's all about what's going on right now. Up next, we're talking public sector. Thank you both for joining me. With us, we've got Bronwen Maddox, Director of Institute for Government, and Patrick Stephenson, Client Managing Director at Fujitsu here. I guess there's been a theme both with private and public sector coming out of World Tour narrative. Businesses are at various stages of their digital transformation. Some are doing well, others want to, but for whatever reason they're not. Some just aren't. Is public sector the same?
It's very much the same. I mean, I think if you look back a decade, we've come a very, very long way. It's only in 2010 that the government digital service was created by the coalition. And there's really been a change of what's done and a mindset since then. But just as you said, you know, the actual experience on the ground is very patchy. So you've got successes, clear successes like gov.uk, which really have transformed the way that things like applying for a passport is done. And I think, you know, that sounds like one thing, but it really goes a long way to transform how people experience their government. You've got the way HMRC is moving towards putting tax online, and that will be big in the end, really big. I think they've been diverted by Brexit, but well, that's positive as well. And then the DVLA, driving licenses. Again, people find that so much easier. So you can really come across a host of small things that have happened, and actually when you add them up, that's not small. That is big for the people using them, and is big for what's been done. Inevitably, there is an awful lot that has not changed. You've got a lot of paper-based stuff that citizens still deal with, and behind the scenes you've still got a lot of old legacy IT systems that government departments look at and think, how are we ever going to change these without coming unstuck?
I guess it's easy to forget population numbers we've got. This is just a huge task for so many departments digitising everything, and as you say, if it was only 2010, they've come a long way already.
Come a very long way. It used to seem like something on the side. Digital was something that, you know, it was one or two ministers' preoccupations. I think there has been a change of mindset that everyone realises this is about the future of government. Now, there's then a battle between some saying, and this will save lots of money. Well, it might, but in my experience, that tends to be a bit overstated. It's more about how government is done differently.
And I think I'll just add, you know, we are seen outside of the UK as one of the leaders in driving digital citizen services. And just a couple of quick examples from a Fujitsu perspective. You know, we work with the HMRC. We're saving over £400 million through fraud, debt and error. That's using some advanced technology around analytics and data management. Working with the likes of the Environment Agency. Safeguarding 1.2 million people with mobile technology and alerting around floods. And then finally, you know, some exciting projects like in the Northern Ireland justice system, integrating all of the prisons, probation, courts together to save money, yes, but most importantly to drive a better joined-up citizen experience.
It's been an interesting point that's come up in a number of interviews. It's the impact on the cultural challenge that gets presented. We've got end users, we're immersive with technology, we're demanding everything instantly. That's got to be forcing government to have to respond. How are we supporting departments to actually meet the demand brought about us by
really
citizens?
Good point. I mean, 4 in 5 people use the internet every day, but only 2/3, or 4 in 5 adults, I should say, in the UK, but only 2/3 of adults actually have dealt with their government ever online. So there's a big gap there between people who are very comfortable online and people actually dealing with the government online. And that is one measure of the kind of pressure on government to do things more digitally. How we're supporting it? Well, at the Institute, we very much argue for the importance of digital transformation as part of changing how government is done. And actually part of that might be about identifying savings that can be made, but you get into quite a trap if you say it's all about savings, because then the temptation is to overstate what those are. And this is about a mindset. This is about how to do it differently.
But there is a culture change with that as well. Yeah. So if you look at the society we live in with Apple, Facebook, where they're testing constantly new services with users, I think that historically there has been a culture in government of being risk adverse. But if you look at .gov, there are a large number of beta services now live that citizens are using, and they are refining the services as we go along. So that's been quite a big culture shift. There's a lot more still to be done though.
When I was talking to some stakeholders earlier, enterprise businesses, they have the challenge of lots of departments that they have to break down to deliver transformation. They tell me smaller, more agile businesses have the easier job. Government, with all the silos, they've got to have the toughest job of all, haven't they?
Yes. It's a funny point about silos, because silos do have their strengths, which is that you've got a clear line of responsibility. You've got some accountability there. You can say, has this department and has the permanent secretary or the minister actually done what they said they were going to do about digital transformation? So I wouldn't knock them completely. But one of the things about digital is it really does require that departments work together, because the standards need to be common. Things like .gov.uk need to be shared across different departments, and they may well have solutions to each other's problems. So it is sort of forcing a need to work together in the way that other kinds of change didn't really. And I think you're hearing an appetite there for doing that. But at the same time, the traditions of Whitehall are very much each department is its own, barony in the former phrase, and ministers like to be responsible for their department, not for half of their department. So you're pushing against some things there, but I think you do hear a change in the conversation, a recognition that it is really important.
We can't ignore Brexit. I mean, particularly the week we've had, ministers doing their best to keep it at the forefront of our news agenda. The implication of technology, both pre and post our exit, what are some of the challenges that are presented?
Well, assuming we do leave the European Union, and assuming, which may be out of date, but assuming that we leave the customs union, which is part of it, being a member, and the single market in some way, then we're going to have to create quite a lot of new arrangements that are going to have a huge digital component. Customs is one of it, VAT, immigration, agriculture regulation, all kinds of other regulation. And these are going to need big digital systems capable of coping with large numbers of people or things or decisions or data to be set up very quickly, and probably some of them to work with continental European data or people as well. So a lot is going to have to be done very quickly. Only a small proportion of that, not zero, but only a small proportion can we say for sure has to be done now, without knowing what the shape of Brexit is. The departments are clearly forging ahead, and where they can say, well, look, we know that we're going to have to find a way to register 3 million Europeans who are here already, then they go ahead with that bit. They're clearly doing some work on what to me is catastrophic scenario of no deal. But there's an awful lot where we can say it's going to take really a lot of work, but we just don't know what that form of that is. They can't really make an awful lot of progress on until we know the shape of Brexit. In my view, that's going to mean that there is pressure for almost pressure that's impossible to refuse for an extension of the timetable, because clearly something could be got ready. But whether these systems could be ready in time, I think it's pretty clear they couldn't.
And we just also need to be quite mindful. If you look at areas of our critical national infrastructure, whether it's borders, whether it's customs, we need those systems to keep running, especially during the transition period and beyond. We also need those systems that exist today to also scale and flex with new demand. It may be more people coming into our country and out. It may be more goods coming in and out. So we need to maybe modify some of those systems to scale up and down with that new Brexit demand during transition and after. And I think there is a silver lining around co-creation of services. We just talked earlier about silos. We've got an opportunity to do some outside-in thinking about Brexit during transition and post-Brexit, and how we can actually co-create some new services that are more joined up for the post-Brexit world. So there is opportunity, but we also just need to be mindful of the risk and shoring up the robust infrastructure that we use to run our country every day.
I know you both represent businesses that are firmly on the front foot with digital transformation. A lot of your colleagues and peers will be watching this today. If there was a single piece of advice that you were going to impart to them today, what would it be? Patrick, we'll start with you.
Mine would be focus on the customer, outside in, a relentless approach to co-creation. That's the way forward. That takes away the barriers around data sharing and the complexities of our public service ecosystem. So a relentless focus on co-creation.
Should they be fearful of it, or do they have to embrace the fear?
They have to embrace it, and by embracing it, to feel the value in a very agile way. We're not talking 12, 24, 36-month programs of old. We're talking week cycles where users of services, citizens, start to see the value.
What's your advice, Bronwen?
Pick the biggest opportunity that you can see possibly coming from Brexit, work out how to develop that. Pick the biggest risk you can see coming to your business or organisation from Brexit, work out what to do about that. And it's a question of how to run a business or other organisation, take it forward in the middle of uncertainty. That's an honourable way to spend your life. You've got to have a plan. It's the best I can do.
Brilliant insight. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. If you've got any questions for Bronwen or Patrick, that sparked some thought with you. Your departments, these are challenges that you're looking at. If you've got questions for either of them, put them onto our social channels. We will get them put to Bronwen and Patrick and come back to you. We're going to continue to bring you coverage from Fujitsu World Tour. Still to come, retail and finance. We're going to be putting some tough questions to the retail team. Number of jobs have been going on the high street. It's not a rosy time for retailers, but is it all doom and gloom? We're going to get you a view on that. More to come.